Hello everybody, my name is Terry. I'm from UCLA, and to give you a little bit of information about myself, I love vanilla ice cream. It might be a little basic in your opinion, but to me that's just the best ice cream flavor out there. Anyways, today I'm going to talk to you guys about Chinese idioms. You guys may have heard of idioms in the English language before, with phrases like needle in a haystack, piece of cake, or even hitting two birds with one stone. In short, an idiom is just a phrase that means something different than its literal meaning. For example, when we say piece of cake, we're never talking about a cake. What we mean is that, oh, it was a really easy thing to do. Now that you're familiar with idioms, why don't we try a couple of them in Mandarin, right? The first example I'm going to give you is 人山人海. Now the phrase 人山人海 means people, mountain, people, sea. It might sound very simple to you, but do you actually know what it means? Remember, right? Idioms are phrases that have a different meaning than its literal meaning. And you may also pause the video if you want to try to take the guess. Of course, if you guessed crowded or place filled with people, then you're absolutely correct. Let's try another one, shall we? This phrase that I'm going to show you is 活到老,学到老. Now, the literal meaning of this phrase, 活到老,学到老, is living until you're old, learning until you're old. What do you think this phrase means? Again, this one might be a little trickier than the last one, but you may pause the video if you want to take the guess. Of course, if you guessed, learning is something you have to do until you die, then you're definitely correct. Now, you may be wondering, how do people come up with all those different kinds of idioms, right? Luckily for us, most Chinese idioms have a little story behind it to help us explain the meaning. Let's go over a few of them. All right, so the first idiom that we're going to go over is 守株待兔. And the literal meaning of this phrase is hold, plant, wait, and rabbit. They don't make any sense, right? Do you want to take a guess as to what they mean? Why don't we find out through a story as well? So there was once a farmer who worked very hard. Because he worked hard, the farmer always had enough to eat and never went hungry. One day, after a long day of work, he went to rest under a tree. While he rested, the farmer saw a rabbit frantically run across the field, hit the tree, and die. Overjoyed, the farmer gathered the rabbit's body and went home early. That night, the farmer made rabbit stew for his dinner. While he ate, he thought, why do I bother working hard in the fields? Well, I have access to rabbits that can run into a tree without doing anything. From that day forth, he stopped working in the field and waited for another rabbit to run to the tree. He waited day after day, but to his surprise, no more rabbits came. Realizing he couldn't keep waiting for rabbits, the farmer decided he has to go back and work in the field again. All right, now that you heard the story, do you want to take a guess as to what 守株待兔 means? This idiom means that we should never wait for luck to happen. And if you want to do something, you should go out and work hard for it. In other words, no pain, no gain. All right, the next idiom that we're going to talk about is 授人以鱼不如授人以渔. Now, the phrase 授人以渔不如授人以渔 means that give people fish is not as good at teaching people how to fish. Now, can you guess what the meaning of this phrase is? If you can't, then let's find out through the story. So once upon a time, there were two people starving to death. A wise man appeared and gave them two different choices, a fishing pole or a bucket of fresh fish. One chose the bucket and the other chose the fishing pole instead. In the beginning, the person with the bucket of fresh fish was very happy. However, he finished the fish in a couple of days and grew hungry afterwards. On the other hand, the person with the fishing pole did not suffer from the same fate. He started to use the fishing pole to catch the fish. But by the time a couple years has already passed, he was able to build a house, a fishing boat, start a family, and lived a happy life. After listening through the whole story, would you want to take another guess as to what 授人以渔不如授人以渔 means? If you guess along the lines of, instead of giving people things, it's better to teach them the skills to earn those things, then you're correct. As you can see, Chinese idioms are used in a variety of different ways. Now, we don't have as many idioms in the English language, but it's still very useful to learn the Chinese idioms because you can convey things very concisely. Now, because of the large amount of Chinese idioms out there, we weren't able to discuss all of them today. But if you're interested in information, then we'll link a couple of websites so you can check out the idioms and their definition and translations. Thank you again for watching the video, and we'll see you next week.